Emma Richardson's smartwatch recorded her death at 6:42 a.m. on March 15, 2019, but security cameras show her buying coffee downtown at 6:43 a.m., the exact same minute she was supposedly being murdered. What happened in that impossible minute would take investigators 4 years to understand, and when they finally did, it revealed something far more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. Make sure you're subscribed because the evidence we're about to uncover gets more disturbing with each layer. Emma Richardson had been teaching 3rd grade at Cedar Falls Elementary for 3 years when she developed the morning routine that would ultimately lead to her death. Every weekday at exactly 6:15 a.m., the 26-year-old would lace up her Nike running shoes and begin the same 2.3-mile loop through downtown Cedar Falls, Iowa, past the courthouse, around Miller's Pond, and back through the residential district where she'd grown up. The routine never varied. Emma's Apple Watch tracked every step, every heartbeat, every calorie burned during what she called her sanity runs, the 27 minutes of solitude that prepared her for managing 22 8-year-olds who thought glue was a food group. Her students knew that Miss Richardson arrived at school each morning with coffee-stained sneakers and the kind of energy that made learning multiplication tables feel like an adventure. But what nobody knew was that someone else had been tracking Emma's routine with the same obsessive precision she applied to her lesson plans. On the morning of March 15, 2019, Emma's smartwatch began recording data at exactly 6:23 a.m. as she stepped off her front porch into the crisp Iowa morning. The device captured her heart rate as it climbed from resting to exercise level, monitored her pace as she jogged past the sleeping houses of neighbors who'd known her since she was the shy girl who collected tadpoles from Miller's Pond. At 6:27 a.m., according to the watch's GPS tracking, Emma was running north on Maple Street, maintaining her usual 8.2 minutes per mile pace. Her heart rate held steady at 142 beats per minute, exactly where it should be for someone in excellent physical condition who ran the same route daily. At 6:38 a.m., the data shows Emma turning onto Commerce Street for the final leg of her route, her breathing pattern consistent with someone anticipating the end of her workout. The smartwatch recorded her slowing to a walking pace at 6:40 a.m., presumably to cool down during the last 2 blocks to her apartment. Then, at exactly 6:42:17 a.m., Emma Richardson's heart stopped beating. The Apple Watch recorded the precise moment, a sudden catastrophic drop from 145 beats per minute to 0. The GPS tracking ceased simultaneously, the device's accelerometer detecting no movement beyond what appeared to be the impact of a body hitting pavement. Every piece of biometric data pointed to the same impossible conclusion. Emma Richardson had died at 6:42 a.m. on Commerce Street. But here's where the case became something that would haunt investigators for the next 4 years. At 6:43 a.m., exactly 1 minute after her smartwatch recorded her death, security cameras at Murphy's coffee shop on Main Street, 4 blocks away from where Emma supposedly collapsed, captured crystal-clear footage of a woman matching Emma's exact description purchasing her usual morning coffee. The timestamp was verified by 3 independent systems, the image quality was perfect, and the woman's movements, mannerisms, and even her post-workout breathing pattern matched Emma Richardson in every detail. What investigators didn't know yet was that Emma Richardson was the 7th victim of a killer so sophisticated that he'd been operating undetected for over 8 years. Detective Sarah Martinez of the Cedar Falls Police Department received the missing persons report at 11:47 a.m. when Emma failed to show up for her first period class. Emma's principal, Janet Kowalski, explained that in 3 years of employment, Emma had never been late, let alone absent without notification. The school had tried calling her multiple times, and when maintenance unlocked her classroom, they found her lesson plans laid out for the day, her coffee mug still warm on the desk. The initial search began at Emma's apartment, where officers found her front door unlocked, her running shoes missing, and her morning coffee still brewing in the kitchen. Everything suggested that Emma had left for her usual run and simply never returned. What they couldn't have anticipated was that the investigation would reveal evidence of something far more sinister than a missing person case. The discovery of Emma's Apple Watch changed everything. At 2:15 p.m., Officer David Chen found the device lying in tall grass beside Commerce Street, exactly where the GPS data indicated Emma's run had ended. The watch face was cracked, but the internal memory had preserved every second of data from that morning's run, including the final impossible readings that showed Emma's vital signs flatline at 6:42 a.m. Detective Martinez stared at the readout for 20 minutes, checking and rechecking the timestamps. The biometric data was unambiguous. Emma Richardson's heart had stopped beating at 6:42:17 a.m. The GPS coordinates placed her death at the intersection of Commerce and 3rd Street. Every piece of technological evidence pointed to the same conclusion, except for the security footage from Murphy's coffee shop. The coffee shop's owner, Tom Murphy, had installed a state-of-the-art surveillance system 6 months earlier after a series of break-ins in downtown Cedar Falls. The cameras captured everything: customers entering and leaving, transactions at the register, even conversations at the counter. The system automatically time-stamped every frame, synchronized with atomic time servers to ensure accuracy down to the second. At exactly 6:43 a.m., the cameras recorded a woman entering the shop who looked identical to Emma Richardson. Same height, same build, same blonde ponytail pulled through the back of a Chicago Cubs baseball cap. She wore gray leggings and a blue running jacket that matched the outfit Emma had put on that morning. Her breathing suggested recent exercise, and she moved with the confident familiarity of someone who'd made the same purchase hundreds of times before. The woman ordered Emma's usual, a large dark roast with 2 sugars, and paid with exact change from a small purple wallet that Emma's roommate would later identify as identical to one Emma owned. The entire transaction lasted 47 seconds, captured in high-definition video that showed details down to the woman's chipped pink nail polish on her left ring finger, a distinctive mark that Emma's friends immediately recognized. But this woman was purchasing coffee at 6:43 a.m., 1 minute and 43 seconds after Emma Richardson's Apple Watch had recorded her death. Detective Martinez spent the next week interviewing everyone who'd had contact with Emma during her final days, searching for explanations that might reconcile the impossible timeline. Emma's roommate, Jessica Walsh, provided alibis and character references that painted a picture of a routine-oriented young woman who lived her life with clockwork precision. Emma's family described a responsible daughter who called every Sunday and had never displayed erratic behavior or signs of psychological disturbance. The forensic analysis of Emma's smartwatch data revealed no signs of malfunction or tampering. The device had recorded over 800 runs during the 2 years Emma had owned it, creating a detailed database of her cardiovascular patterns, route preferences, and exercise habits. The biometric readings from March 15th showed normal patterns until the sudden dramatic cessation of all vital signs. Exactly what cardiologists would expect to see if someone's heart stopped beating instantly. But the coffee shop footage presented equally compelling evidence that Emma had been alive and conscious at 6:43 a.m., purchasing her usual morning beverage with the casual routine of someone continuing an ordinary day. The woman in the video displayed Emma's characteristic mannerisms: the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her left ear while waiting, her habit of tapping her fingers against her leg when standing still, even her polite smile when thanking the cashier. 2 weeks into the investigation, Detective Martinez made a discovery that would transform the case from puzzling to genuinely terrifying. Emma Richardson was not the first person to experience this impossible timeline discrepancy. While reviewing similar cases in Iowa's criminal database, Martinez found 6 other incidents dating back to 2011 where individuals had disappeared under circumstances involving contradictory technological evidence. Each case featured a victim whose electronic devices recorded death or incapacitation at a specific time, followed by verified sightings of the same person minutes later in different locations. The pattern was so precise, it couldn't be coincidental. The first case involved Amanda Foster, a 24-year-old pharmacy student from Iowa City whose Fitbit recorded a fatal cardiac event at 3:17 p.m. on August 22, 2011. Security footage from the university library showed Amanda checking out books at 3:21 p.m., 4 minutes after her device indicated she had died. Amanda Foster was never seen again after leaving the library that afternoon. The second case concerned Michael Torres, a 31-year-old insurance agent from Davenport whose fitness tracker recorded a complete cessation of vital signs at 4:23 p.m. on June 8, 2016. Bank security cameras showed Michael making a deposit at 4:27 p.m., displaying no signs of distress or unusual behavior. His car was found abandoned in a Walmart parking lot 3 days later. The third case involved Rebecca Kim, a 28-year-old nurse from Iowa City, whose smartwatch detected her death at 7:15 p.m. on October 12, 2017. Hospital security footage captured Rebecca clocking in for her night shift at 7:19 p.m., appearing completely normal. She disappeared from the hospital sometime during her shift, and her body was never found. The fourth case featured James Patterson, a 35-year-old teacher from Burlington whose wearable device recorded his death at 5:41 a.m. on February 3, 2018. Store cameras showed James purchasing gasoline and snacks at a convenience store at 5:45 a.m. His car was found abandoned on Highway 61 3 days later, but James Patterson had vanished without a trace. The fifth case involved Lisa Chen, a 29-year-old marketing coordinator from Des Moines, whose Apple Watch recorded her death at 2:33 p.m. on September 15, 2018. Shopping mall security cameras captured Lisa making purchases at Target at 2:37 p.m., carrying bags and appearing to continue her normal Saturday routine. Lisa Chen was reported missing by her roommate that evening and was never found. The sixth case concerned David Walsh, a 33-year-old accountant from Waterloo, whose fitness tracker recorded his death at 8:42 a.m. on January 7, 2019. Office building security footage showed David arriving for work at 8:46 a.m., greeting the security guard and taking the elevator to his floor. His colleagues found his office empty at lunchtime, and David Walsh had disappeared without explanation. Each victim had been young, professionally successful, and religiously committed to fitness tracking. Each had disappeared permanently after their final confirmed sighting. Each case had been classified as an unexplained missing person incident that consumed investigative resources without producing answers. And each case shared the exact same 4-minute window between recorded death and final sighting. Detective Martinez realized she wasn't dealing with isolated incidents, but with a serial killer who had perfected a technological deception so sophisticated that it had fooled law enforcement agencies across Iowa for over 8 years. The breakthrough came from Dr. Elizabeth Harper, a biomedical engineer at the University of Iowa who specialized in wearable device security. When Martinez consulted her about the impossible timeline, Dr. Harper immediately recognized the signature of what she called biometric spoofing, a technique that used electromagnetic pulse devices to create false readings on fitness trackers and smartwatches. Dr. Harper explained that someone with advanced knowledge of biomedical sensors could use specialized equipment to remotely trigger false death readings on wearable devices. The 4-minute delay wasn't random. It represented the time needed to implement the electromagnetic attack while positioning themselves to observe the victim's final public appearance. The killer was creating false death readings to confuse investigators about time of death while simultaneously documenting his victim's final moments on security cameras. The purpose was to create investigative chaos that would provide additional time for victim transport and disposal, while establishing false timelines that would mislead missing person investigations. Dr. Harper's analysis revealed that the technology required for this deception would cost approximately $50,000 and require expertise in biomedical engineering, electronics, and signal processing. The killer would need access to specialized electromagnetic pulse generators, signal analyzers, and frequency scanners, equipment typically found in advanced research laboratories or military applications. Detective Martinez began investigating individuals with the technical background and financial resources necessary to acquire and operate such sophisticated equipment. The search focused on biomedical researchers, electronics engineers, and military contractors who had worked in Iowa during the time frame of the murders. The investigation led to Dr. Richard Holbrook. Dr. Holbrook had been involved in every single case as the state's leading expert on electronic evidence analysis. His company, Digital Forensic Solutions, had analyzed the fitness tracker data from Amanda Foster's disappearance, the smartwatch information from Michael Torres's case, the wearable device evidence from Rebecca Kim's vanishing, and every subsequent case through Emma Richardson's investigation. Dr. Holbrook had personally provided the official determinations that each victim's device had functioned normally and recorded accurate biometric information at the time of their supposed deaths. He had testified as an expert witness in court proceedings, consulted with law enforcement agencies, and built a reputation as Iowa's foremost authority on electronic evidence. But Detective Martinez's investigation into Dr. Holbrook's background revealed something far more disturbing than professional expertise. Dr. Holbrook owned the exact type of electromagnetic pulse equipment that Dr. Harper had identified as necessary for biometric spoofing. His laboratory contained frequency generators, signal analyzers, and pulse devices that matched the specifications needed to remotely manipulate wearable device sensors. More disturbing still, his consulting work had given him advanced knowledge of missing person cases throughout Iowa, allowing him to select victims whose disappearances would likely be investigated using the same technological evidence he specialized in analyzing. The surveillance operation that began on Dr. Holbrook in June 2023 revealed a meticulously organized killer who had turned his expertise in electronic evidence into the perfect cover for serial murder. His laboratory contained detailed profiles of potential victims, surveillance equipment used to study their routines, and video recordings that documented the final moments of each person who had disappeared. Dr. Holbrook's method was sickeningly systematic. He would select victims based on their fitness tracking habits and predictable routines, conduct months of surveillance to understand their movement patterns, then use electromagnetic pulse devices to create false death readings on their wearable devices while they continued their normal activities, unaware that their technological lifeline had been severed. Each victim's final public appearance was carefully orchestrated to occur exactly 4 minutes after their device recorded false death readings. Dr. Holbrook would position himself to observe these final sightings, often using surveillance equipment to record his victims' last moments of normalcy before he abducted them from isolated locations. The arrest of Dr. Richard Holbrook on August 7, 2023, revealed the existence of what investigators described as the most sophisticated serial killing operation in modern American criminal history. His home and laboratory contained evidence linking him to all 7 disappearances, including personal items belonging to each victim and detailed documentation of his surveillance and abduction methods. But the most horrifying discovery was yet to come. During the search of Dr. Holbrook's property, investigators found a hidden underground facility where he had been conducting what he described in his journals as behavioral termination experiments. The facility contained advanced medical equipment, recording devices, and restraint systems that revealed the true purpose of his elaborate technological deception. Dr. Holbrook hadn't been killing his victims quickly. He had been keeping them alive for extended periods while conducting psychological experiments designed to study human behavior under extreme stress conditions. His journals documented detailed observations of each victim's responses to various stimuli, their attempts to escape, and their eventual deaths after days or weeks of captivity. Emma Richardson's final hours, as revealed through Dr. Holbrook's meticulous documentation, were more horrifying than anyone had imagined. After creating false death readings on her Apple Watch at 6:42 a.m., Dr. Holbrook had followed Emma to Murphy's coffee shop, where she made her usual Friday morning purchase at 6:43 a.m. He had then abducted her from the parking lot behind the coffee shop, using a van equipped with electromagnetic jamming equipment that prevented her from calling for help. Emma had been held in Dr. Holbrook's underground facility for 6 days before her death, during which time he conducted the same psychological experiments that had claimed the lives of 6 previous victims. Her body was found buried on property Dr. Holbrook owned in rural Johnson County, along with the remains of Amanda Foster, Michael Torres, Rebecca Kim, James Patterson, Lisa Chen, and David Walsh. The discovery of the underground facility revealed the true scope of Dr. Holbrook's crimes. He had been operating for over 12 years, selecting victims whose reliance on wearable technology made them ideal candidates for his twisted experiments in technological deception and behavioral manipulation. His expertise in electronic evidence analysis had allowed him to stay ahead of investigations while positioning himself as the expert who could solve the very crimes he was committing. Dr. Holbrook's journals revealed his motivation: a pathological obsession with understanding human behavior in extreme situations, combined with a narcissistic belief that his scientific contributions justified the deaths of his victims. He viewed his murders as research, documenting his findings in detailed reports that he apparently intended to publish after perfecting his experimental methods. The psychological evaluation conducted after his arrest revealed a brilliant but profoundly disturbed individual who had used his expertise in biomedical technology to satisfy violent fantasies while maintaining a respectable public persona. Dr. Holbrook showed no remorse for his crimes, instead expressing frustration that his research had been interrupted before he could complete what he described as groundbreaking work in stress psychology. The trial of Dr. Richard Holbrook began on March 15, 2024, exactly 5 years after Emma Richardson's disappearance. The prosecution presented evidence that included the electromagnetic pulse equipment found in his laboratory, surveillance recordings of each victim, and detailed documentation from his underground facility that proved premeditation and extreme cruelty in each murder. The defense attempted to argue that Dr. Holbrook's mental illness prevented him from understanding the criminality of his actions, but the meticulous planning evident in his crimes and his efforts to avoid detection demonstrated clear awareness of wrongdoing. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before returning guilty verdicts on 7 counts of first-degree murder, 7 counts of kidnapping, and multiple charges related to his technological deceptions. Dr. Holbrook received 7 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole, but his conviction provided little comfort to the families who had spent years searching for answers about their missing loved ones. The revelation that their children, siblings, and partners had been subjected to prolonged torture before their deaths added new dimensions of grief, 2 losses that had already devastated entire families. The case fundamentally changed how law enforcement agencies across the country approach electronic evidence and missing person investigations. New protocols require independent verification of wearable device data, and investigators are trained to recognize the signs of electromagnetic manipulation that Dr. Holbrook had used to deceive authorities for over a decade. Emma Richardson's story serves as a chilling reminder that the technology we trust to keep us safe can be turned against us by those who understand its vulnerabilities better than we understand its limitations. Her case exposed the dangerous intersection of advanced technology and criminal pathology, revealing how expertise intended to protect society can be corrupted to facilitate the most heinous crime. The 7 victims of Dr. Richard Holbrook were remembered at a memorial service held in Cedar Falls on August 7, 2024, 1 year after his arrest. Emma Richardson's students, now in 4th grade, planted a garden in her memory at the elementary school where she had taught with such dedication. The garden grows beside Miller's Pond, where Emma had once collected tadpoles as a curious child who believed the world was full of wonders waiting to be discovered. If you've been following this investigation from the beginning, you know that justice in cases like these often reveals as many questions as answers about the ways technology can be weaponized against innocent victims. Consider subscribing to stay informed about other cases where cutting-edge forensics revealed the truth behind seemingly impossible crimes, and share your thoughts about how we can better protect ourselves from predators who use our own technology against us.